Hi everyone, time for another species spotlight, and of course it's another Aroid. It's in the genus Sauromatum, so obviously it's in the Araceae family, and it's a tiny little Sauromatum called Sauromatum horsfieldii. It's a gorgeous little Sauromatum with beautiful green leaves with nice red margins to a lot of the leaves, and it gives a gorgeous little inflorescence that has a powerful little punch. It's another stinky little Aroid that you might want to look at collecting. So let's take a look at it and look at it in its full life cycle. So at the moment it's October 2023, so they're going down. So I'll show you how I pop them up or depot them really for our winter storage. So let's take a look. So we're just reaching the end of October 2023, and this beautiful little Sauromatum, I've got 3 little pots here and loads in the ground called Sauromatum horsfieldii, and this one's going down now, so I'm going to empty these pots with you on camera now. But I thought I'd just quickly discuss what they are. So obviously it's an Aroid, so it's a member of the Araceae family. It is a Sauromatum, so it's not like Amorphophallus, which is these ones here, but it is a cousin of this bigger brother, the Sauromatum venosum, which is a very common voodoo lily. And one of the big ways that you know instantly is if you take a leaf, or more accurately a leaflet, you can see that as it comes up from this portion, which is the petiole, it will come up to what's called a rachis, which is this half moon shape here. And there's a central leaf at the back here that comes off. That's this one here. I can just hold it with my finger. And that one then goes 2 ways. So this is a petiole that it comes up from, and then that divides with the leaf in the center, and it goes 2 ways around this arc, and there's leaflets coming off that. Now I say leaflets because, like a lot of these types of Aroids, this is one leaf. So this is one petiole, and this is one leaf. You can see there, if I zoom in close, you can see that there's a leaf margin that follows all the way around. And that's the same for most of these types of Aroids. So it's the same for the Amorphophallus and the, all of the Sauromatum are like this. So all of this type have a very plain petiole. So they're either very red or very light brown. And it's a bit more similar to Sauromatum Indian giant, which is this one. And that has a much plainer stem with a lot less of these kind of giraffe dots on it. If you remember earlier that I showed you, the Sauromatum venosum has got this giraffe-like texture pattern all the way up. So horsfieldii, it's a lot smaller, so probably up to about 20 to 30 centimeters at max. And it's, as much as the leaf structure is the same, you can identify it because of this wavy leaf margin. Now that does happen on a lot of the other Sauromatum, but it's much more evident in these smaller leaves, I find. So you can spot them when they first just pop up. So what we'll do is we'll have a little chat about where they're from and how to keep them, and then we'll unpot these with the camera overhead so we can have a look. So they're from Southeast Asia. They're very, very common plants out there. I grow them in the garden, so that they've done really, really well this last season. And I grow them just in small borders here with a lot of the other smaller Amorphophallus. And they last all season, all summer, and then they just go dormant as they are now in these pots. So all of the ones in the ground, you can't see them now because they've all gone down already, but that entire border back there is full of them. So what's left here are just the ones I keep in pots. I always keep spares, and I, as much as I've got loads of tubers in the ground, I like to have them, at least some of them in the storage in the house in the warm. So they keep to the same dormancy cycle as all the other Sauromatum and a lot of the Amorphophallus. So probably going down a little bit quicker than all of my Amorphophallus, to be honest. So as you can see, I've still got most of my smaller Amorphophallus. There hasn't been a single one that's gone down yet. And again, it's the end of October now. So everything Amorphophallus wise is staying up, and almost all of the Sauromatum have gone. So I've got 1 or 2 of these smaller ones left, and then all of the larger pots and all the big ones have gone completely. So these are literally the last of the Sauromatum to go down. but way before the Amorphophallus, at least here in the UK anyway. So let's set the camera up in one place and we'll have a look at what's in the pots for these three. Okay, so let's do the small ones first. Move these out of the way. And this one's only just gone down this last couple of days, so they've all dropped. And I would normally leave these a little bit longer, but they have dropped. So if I just pull them, you'll see they just come out like that. Let's have a quick look at these leaves. So they're all still very healthy. That one's been nibbled actually, which is, you know, not usual, and it's been nibbled on this side completely. So maybe it is a good time to get rid of them. Quite a young one there. Could really leave that, but it's going to go very, very soon anyway, so we'll pluck it out. This one's just going to come out easily. Oh, came off on the stem, that's odd. And then these last two, these are quite tough. So what I'll do is I'll leave these, and I'll let you see as we pour it out. We'll see what we get. So what I'm looking for now is to see the tubers. So we've just had a big downpour over the last couple of days. We've had really bad storms, so all of these are very, very wet. So let's see if I can tip it out and then pick it through my hand, because it's a couple of forms. There's a red form, red stem form, fully green form. At the end of the season you get a lot of this kind of peppering, this kind of red. You probably see it there. It goes a little bit mottled, but the green ones that have just gone down, you can see there's a lot less of that. And very unlike the Sauromatum venosum, which is just usually just solid green in most cases. It's a small pot, this one. Okay, you can see the roots there. Healthy set of roots all the way down to the bottom of the pot, so that's a really good sign. Really nice white bright roots. So I'll just slowly push through and just see what we come to. I'm just teasing them away, so I'm not looking to do, not ripping them out, just slowly keep teasing them out. And there we go, we can see actually there's one or two there. That's actually a bit of leca, expanded clay. So there's none there. So what have we got here? So there's one offset, you can see that hopefully. So that's a healthy little offset with roots. I'll put the rest of them down just to show you. You can see there. So this is coming off the main plant, and it's got its own set of roots off this offset tuber. So that's exactly how they propagate. They shoot off the side with little offset tubers, and then those tubers sprout, and then they carry on doing it. So we'll put that on one side, and we'll have a look at them once we've cleaned them up. So I'm just going to sift through the soil just to make sure I've not missed any, which I don't think I have. Now what you will find is you probably will miss some of these, and what you get is you'll find them popping up all over the place, because they are quite prolific. They will find their own way if you don't be really careful with them. So let's carry on, just slowly unpicking it here. Let me be as careful as I can, because what I'll do is I'll wash them off as well, and I'll show it you once it's washed off. So if I can hold them together as much as I can, that would be great. Bear in mind, normally this would have popped off, or we should really have left it. But you can see there's quite a lot of young growth already trying to come through. So once we've washed it, we'll have a look at that. So we'll put this one on one side, and then so that's at the moment that's only basically it's the main 1+1 at the moment. So we'll see how that comes, and we'll keep that label with it to make sure we don't mess it up. Okay, on to the next one. This is another one called this is a red stem one. So this is from my good buddy Frank. So it's definitely gone down, and it's well ready. So actually I'll try and keep this one together. So I'll tip it out into my hand and just see what we get. So we'll put the pot on one side. Roots not as prolific as the last one, but still there all the way to the bottom of the pot, so that's a good sign. So just slowly, I think that was all there was, which is still attached. So I've just filtered it. It's like gold, panning for gold. You're basically looking to feel you know, for anything that's different than the norm. So, you know, keep rolling between your fingers, and if it feels like it might be one, then just give it a little squeeze and see if it's a rock or not. So there you go, that one seems healthy, but no separated offset, so this is much younger, and actually that's about to fall off, so, you know, timing was exactly right. Now that came off there, and I think, is that one? No. If you ever can't tell, if you just stick your nail in the side and just peel back, if you see a little bit of white pop open like that, that means that is a tuber. So believe it or not, that's how easy it is to miss them. I mean, it just looks like a tiny bit of rock. So almost certainly we will have missed some. So this last one then, this is a lot bigger. This had about 8 or 9 petioles of this length, with this kind of leaf on it. So this might be one where we have to tip it, and bit by bit just see what comes out. So if I can tip it towards the camera, and we'll just run our fingers around and see what comes out. So we know they were mostly in the middle, so see if I can feel them as we get down to them. So quite deep actually, so I don't know whether these do pull themselves down, like arum can pull themselves into the ground, so I don't know whether these do. Something to note is I've got lots of different types of rock and kind of gravel and all sorts in here. Now I've stopped doing this now, and I only use one specific type of gravel or sand. I don't put any lacquer or anything in there, because it is quite confusing when you're trying to, you know, dig out these tubers. It makes it a lot easier if everything is fine grained gravel. So over the season, I'm getting rid of as much of this and putting it in the ground rather than having it in pots. So right, let's get down. I can't really do any more now, so I'm going to tip it and see what happens. Oh, this is much bigger. This is lots more in here. So you can see the roots there all the way around. So again, nothing like the size that we'd get from a venosum, the big boy, but you know, it is the entire pot is full of roots, so that's a great sign. So I'll just see how wet it is from the recent rain. As much as these are in pots, they live outside all summer, so you can see it coming apart now nicely. And we're getting down to definitely getting down to the tubers now. This one feels huge, if I'm honest. So there's the edge. I'm pulling it out sideways like that, so that's like an octopus now. And you can see them all around the edges here. Yeah, I think there's a few dropping off now. So we'll go back and we'll look for those in a minute. So give them a squish to see if it is them or not. You can see the heads there. That's definitely one there. So I'll keep that one separate. Yeah, there's lots and lots and lots in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash this off carefully and try and keep it as intact as I can. And then I'll come back with the 3 different lots that we've done, all washed. And I'll show you what those 3 look like. So I've just jetted them all off, and I'll just go through them, try and explain what we're looking at. So let's zoom in on this big one first. So what we're looking at here, this was the tuber that went into the pot at the start of the season. And you can see there's plenty of offsets still attached, and the roots look healthy. And this is the top. This basically here, this bit here was how it all started, and it's grown out from that in a ring. So underneath you will usually find that here, and it's actually come off in the jet wash, but this black bit here, this was the beginnings, or what was here was the beginnings of the previous tuber. So the tuber goes in, it gives it enough energy to start the plant, and then it grows the leaves, the petiole and the leaves, and the inflorescence. And that's one thing to note about the horsfieldii, that is one of the different growth habit differences, is that the inflorescence, so the spade and the spade, it comes up with the leaves, whereas all of the other ones like Sauromatum venosum, and so certainly Sauromatum venosum, come up with a flower spike first. So you'll get your inflorescence, that will die back, and if you're lucky, you know, that'll leave you with seed, and then that dies back completely, and then the leaves come up. Whereas this, you get them both at the same time, which makes it cool. So when that one that's stuck here and is gone now is finished, it shrivels up, the plant goes into life and photosynthesizes, and then starts building up this new tuber, and along the way it then adds more. So it adds all of these. So new tuber in the middle plus the babies. Now some of those babies during the season will get big, like this. This is an offset that was stuck to it, and it's gone off to the side, and it's basically, you know, started its own babies. And yet again, one of those babies has gone off the side and done it. So that's the process you get, and you can see how that spreads out through the landscape. You know, and each of these babies that comes on the side, you can see them all around. That will then start its own little clump. So it's a great way of spreading, you know, and as it comes up and down each season, you know, I mean, it probably doesn't go as dormant as we have it in the northern hemisphere. You know, if it's in the right kind of temperatures, I'm guessing it doesn't need the dormancy cycle as much. Don't know for sure on that one, but I'm guessing. The second one, the one that I left the leaf on to show you, here's a great example of a first year. So in its first year, it's grown all of these little offsets, and all around it, each one of them is sprouting. Now they will fall off, start their own plants, as you can see here. This is one that fell off, and that's already got all these little, you know, I mean, I call them tubulets, tubercles, whatever they're called. They're basically more tubers. So they're not corms, you know, these definitely aren't corms, and they're certainly not bulbs. You know, these are, you know, little tiny tubers, so little packets of energy that is actually made from an underground stem. So that's a, you know, a real key distinction. So what happens now, let's just quickly look at the last one. This is the youngest of the three, but even that's, you know, that's made tons and tons of babies there. So basically, let's zoom out. All of these now, I'm going to pull all the roots off, let it dry for a few days, and then I'll dip it in sulfur. I use yellow sulfur now, it's quite new to me. You know, from there I store them until next year. The ones that are in the ground are already gone, they're already down. Don't disturb them at all, just let them get on with it. And these ones will, you know, these will all be stored until later on in the new season. Okay, a few days later, they're all fairly dry. I just leave them usually in the greenhouse, or depending on how damp the conditions are in the house, or sometimes in the airing cupboard, just to literally dry them out as fast as I can. And then what I have done is I've amalgamated two of the pots. I've realised they were from the same person. So these were the two pots, and that's the one. So that's from one person, and these both were from another one. So they're from the same set of genes. So not too worried about them being stored together. So this is yellow sulfur, and then all I do is I just dust yellow sulfur over these. Now it's good to put gloves on if you're going to touch any of this yellow sulfur. I wouldn't recommend touching it unless you absolutely have to. But as long as you don't touch it, you should be fine. And really do not breathe it in. It's not a thing that you want to go and breathe in. So a light dusting of yellow sulfur over it all. You can put it in the box and shake it. That's another way of doing it. But it'll be enough to, basically all it's for is to stop any fungal infection. So you don't need tons and tons of the stuff. Just enough to cover it over and get it into some of these places where, you know, where rot might, you know, kick in. So make sure you just dab in it a little bit. Some people are more susceptible than others to this stuff, but as long as you're not breathing it, I think you're fine. Nothing about sulfur is good for a human, I don't think. So yeah, once all that's done, then you can just put the sulfur on one side, and then depends how you store them. I store them in dry soil. It can be in sawdust. I don't completely have them bone dry. Most of the Amorphophallus I leave bone dry. Sauromatum, not all of them are good bone dry. So this isn't wet by any stretch, but it's not like anything desiccated, so it's not like using sawdust. So but I find that it's fine in that, so I just tip all of them in there with a bit of sulfur on top, and then once they're all in, try and separate them a little bit if you can, and then just the top covering of, again, dryish kind of compost or mix. You're not really going to water these, or you're not even going to look at these again until the spring, so that you literally are going to let these go dormant completely like this, and the next time you look at them is when you're going to wake them up. So you don't need any more than that. So just make sure you've not mixed the labels up. So the 2 labels are it, and they go away into a dry store box until the spring, and that's it. That covers off how I look after them and how I put them to sleep for winter. And hopefully you've had a good overview of the whole of Sauromatum horsfieldii's life. You've seen it as a tuber, and you've seen it as, you know, in leaf, and you've seen it at the end of its season, and the inflorescence as well. So it's one to definitely try out if you can source it. If you're in the UK, it's a little bit harder, but a really good one to add to your collection. I really hope you're enjoying these videos, and if you are, please give us a thumbs up, because it does help us to get in front of other people who like this kind of content. If you like it enough to give it a thumbs up, then why not subscribe to the channel, and we can let you know when we upload our content, which is every week.